Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Brandon's Face. It's the podcast about a playlist. I am one half of your hosting duo. My name is Jonathan Beardsley. And as always, I'm joined by the one and only Brandon May. Brandon, how are you doing this fine evening?
I'm fucking great, man. How are you?
I am great, man. We had a lot of albums to break down this week. I'm very interested to get your thoughts on all of them.
Yeah, this is a fun week.
I'm sure you spun that Afghan Whigs into the ground. If I know anything about you. But before we get into all of that, please like, follow, subscribe if you have not already. You can follow along with the playlist in the show notes. You can find all of our archives on our website and on our Spotify's. And you can find our website, brandonsface.com. You can find us on Instagram at brandonsfacepod, or you can find us on Reddit. Just search Brandon's Face. You can also find the podcast on all major podcasting platforms, YouTube, probably the NSA website. I'm not really sure. Who knows? Check.
At one point, you've never let me really open up, so. Oh, you said NSA, not CIA. Okay, we're good.
I was gonna say. All right, man. Let's talk about this. We have 100 songs, 6.5 hours of music to break down. You ready to get into it?
Let's go.
Let's go. First up, we got a new one from Bonobo. I'm gonna say it's pronounced Attack. What do you think?
I like that.
Yeah, we're gonna say it's Attack. What do you think of this one?
There's no surprise here. Bonobo kills fucking everything he touches. So,
yeah, this is his first single since releasing his album Fragments back in January. I wouldn't say this track is quite as substantial as anything from Fragments was, but I think it's a good song for what it is.
I liked it.
Me too. Next up, we have one from Sasha and Locked Groove called Exploding Suns. This is the latest collaboration in his Series 10, which so far has been released in like these 3-song EP installments. I'm not sure if you've like kind of put this together. It's really weird.
It's hard to put together. It's kind of a weird rollout, but I threw this one out because I like this one the most.
It's a good song. I think this is all supposed to culminate in all 10 songs being released on one album sometime later this year.
Which is kind of why I'm only throwing a couple on here or there, or one on each playlist or whatever.
And for sure, I appreciate that because I haven't dug into the EP. So we will for sure check out that album in full. But yeah, this track is pretty good. It's Sasha. It's high quality house music.
So it's funny, man. Sometimes like on my way to work, typically at the beginning of the week, I'll just throw the playlist on and I'll be driving to work, or I'll have it on, at work while I'm walking around, and I'll have my headphones in, and it's so funny. But every time I think to myself, damn, who the fuck is this? And I look at my phone, like 9 times out of 10, it's Sasha.
He's the standard bearer for quality, man.
This is excellent.
Yeah, this is really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of the album has to hold.
Same. I mean, it's Sasha, so I have high expectations, but
I do as well.
Could disappoint me, but I seriously doubt that.
Yeah, based on what we've heard so far, I doubt that. All right, man. Next up, we got a new one from Muramasa and Erica DeCassier called Emotions. This is off of his upcoming album Demon Time, due out later this week. I've had that album on a release calendar for a while, and I've been looking for a reason to get excited about it. I wasn't really feeling any of the singles so far, but I really like this track. And we have not talked about Erica yet, but I discovered her first 2 albums earlier this year and fell absolutely in love with her voice. So it goes without saying, I was really happy to see her name listed as a feature on this, and it makes me even happier to hear that it's a good song. It's not my favorite of hers or his, but I think it's a decent effort, and it at least got me a little bit excited to hear the album. How did you feel about this one, buddy?
It's poppy, it's bouncy. What's not to like, man?
I'm glad you dug it.
Yeah.
Would you say you're a Muramasa fan at all? Do you know much of his work?
I wouldn't say that I'm a fan. I wouldn't say that I'm a hater.
Okay, for sure. Well, then, yeah, I think we should just both go into this one as blindly as possible then.
I like that.
Me too, man. All right, let's talk about this new Bryson Tiller track, Outside. This is the first new music he's released since the deluxe edition tracks for Anniversary last year. I wouldn't really call this one a stylistic departure as much as a tonal shift. Like normally he'd be trying to get people in their fall feelings right now, but this is a surprisingly light track from him. And The Yin Yang Twins sample adds a nice bounce to the instrumental, but his voice is by far the best thing about this song. It's a decent song, not my favorite of his by any stretch, but I think it's good. What did you think of it?
What do you mean sample, bro? It's the whole beat.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
No, I mean technically, I guess you could categorize it as a sample, but I mean, I think Taylor did pretty well here. I just don't understand the beat choice.
Yeah, I don't think it fits his style at all.
I don't think it fits his style. I don't think it fits like most of. I think he could have just paid somebody to make a beat for him, but I'm not him, so I don't know.
It feels like a Lucy, so I'm not going to judge it too hard. All right, next up, we got a new one from Corday and Hit Boy called Checkmate. I believe this was made for the new Madden soundtrack, which would make sense since Corday hasn't really promoted this track on his social media. It's a good song, but definitely feels like a soundtrack song or a deluxe edition song. I think that the beat's good, the flow's good, but the lyrics are just kind of weak on this one. What did you think?
I mean, the track's good. It's just kind of missing something. I can't really put my finger on it. I think you did. Like almost seems derivative in a way, but I don't really know what it's derivative of. I don't know if that makes sense.
I'm going to go back to what we said last time we talked about him and just say I don't think he has anything to rap about right now.
There you go. That's kind of perfect.
He's just doing the thesaurus rap. I'm going to throw some big words at you, some vibes, and yeah, it's just not working for me right now.
Yep.
All right, man, let's talk about this new Prodigy and DJ Premier song, Walk Out, that you threw on here. My man, this is a banger. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, my man Prodigy is out here just fucking killing it as usual.
Two for two this year.
Queensbridge rap for life.
Yes, sir.
Like, I don't know how else to say it, man. It's a banger.
Yeah, man, his blade has not dulled one bit. Premier did a great job on this beat too. It sounds like
Definitely.
Prodigy's rapping over the Taxi Driver soundtrack, which I'm a big fan of. So I like this. Good shit.
Nice.
All right, next up we got a new one from Immortal Technique, Brother Ali, Killer Mike, and Chuck D called Civil War. All of these artists are legendary in their own way, so it's cool to hear them all on the same track. The instrumental is really menacing, and they all sound great, but Killer Mike's verse was my standout. What did you think of this track?
Yeah, I fucking loved this. It's lyrically dense. There's intense meaning. It's structured very well, and like you said, Killer Mike just destroyed this. So
I feel like you might like denser lyricism in rap than me. Immortal Technique's kind of like my stopping point generally.
Yeah, he takes on some pretty heavy themes at a number of different quarters. So I get it.
I think my first exposure to him also was very like kind of set the tone for the rest of it. Like I was just in a car with some friends and there's that one kid that's like, let me throw this on. And it's like, I don't want to hear this like murder rape story over 18 minutes or whatever the fuck this is.
Yeah.
But he's a very talented rapper. This has nothing to do with technique, in my opinion, though. It's just, I appreciate the lyricism and his storytelling, but it's often too dense for me. Or maybe, just too thematically heavy. And maybe you hit the nail on the head with that.
I totally get it. I really like this song, though, and I'm glad you did, too.
I did, too. I felt like this was palatable enough, and I really like the posse cut feel of it.
Nice.
Okay. You ready to talk about this new King Gizzard?
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Is this called Ice V or Ice 5? What do you think?
I don't know. Yes?
I'm guessing that the album's going to have some weird naming convention, and it's going to be like Ice 3, Ice 2. That's my guess. Yeah, well, maybe Vegas is taking bets on that.
Maybe.
This is a track off one of the 3 new albums they're going to be putting out this October. Jesus Christ, dude. This is insane, man. These guys are just an endless well of creativity. They're high output. Every album sounds completely different. I don't even know how to describe this. It's like Fatboy Slim making jazz music. It's great. It's great. What are your thoughts on all that is happening here? Are you surprised by this in any way? Can you be surprised by a King Gizzard song?
All right. So, number one, I'm not surprised that they're about to release 3 albums. They're about 3 albums behind for the year, so that makes a lot of sense. man, this band consistently, and I do mean consistently, reminds everyone who hears them that music can be fun, it can be easy to listen to, but at the same time, technical and fucking awesome all at once. This track is no exception, man. It's 10 minutes of absolute funk, rock, psychedelia, whatever the fuck you want to call it, man. It's fantastic.
You heard it here. It's great, man. I can't wait to hear all fucking three of these. They put out what, one album so far this year?
Well, they've released one on streaming, but there's one that they were supposed to do something with. It's a 2-track, 45-minute album that I guess they only released on vinyl. It's a long story. I think it's called Timeless, but yeah.
It's
so
the most King Gizzard thing I've ever fucking heard.
right, like it's just ridiculous trying to keep up with this band, man.
Yeah, they're awesome. Can't wait to review all three of those. We might have to limit your albums of the year to one King Gizzard album.
I'll accept that. I'll accept
that. Okay, good. All right, man. Next up, we got a new one from Battle Tapes called In Too Deep. You've been throwing all of their music on here lately, so talk to me about this one. You liking it?
I'm actually kind of bummed that this isn't a Sum 41 cover. I'm just kidding. This is a banger, man. It reminds me of kind of Boy Harsher, who we were just talking about off mic. Is opening for Danny fucking Elfman on Halloween weekend in Los Angeles, which is going to be a neat show. But I just like their music, man. I don't know why it speaks to me.
Yeah, we've covered a few of their songs now, and I still have no idea if they're rock or electronic, but they're rad. I like them.
Oh, what genre are they? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, they are.
All right, man. Next up, we got a new one from Phoenix and Ezra Coing called Tonight. What are your thoughts on this? We've never talked about Phoenix.
We have never talked about Phoenix, which is weird. I think this is a good Phoenix track. They've announced a new album. It's coming out on November 4th, and it should be a good one. This is their first one and their first record in 5 years. My wife and I saw them at Coachella, and they did indeed put a good show on. So I've never been like a giant fan of theirs, but they seemed what's the word I'm looking for? They seem important enough to talk about them. So, and I've never heard your thoughts on Phoenix, so let her rip.
Never been like a big fan. I know like all the mainstream kind of hits of theirs, but the main reason they ever got on my radar is, I don't know if you remember this. I think it was pre-Random Access Memories, but Daft Punk showed up at one of their like Madison Square Garden shows, like at the end, and it was like the first time since I think either the Grammys performance or Alive 2007 that they'd ever been on stage, and they ended up doing like a full DJ medley with 1904, like as Phoenix played 1904, and then Phoenix just left and Daft Punk just went off for like 15 minutes of just like insane. Have you ever seen that?
Yes. In fact, it's one of the reasons why my wife and I saw them at Coachella, because
neither of us are there's always fans. The chance.
Neither of us are huge fans of Phoenix, but there was nobody else playing, and we thought, you know what? If there's a chance that Daft Punk is going to be here, we got to be at this show. And apparently, Guy Manuel has worked with Phoenix. I think he might have produced the album that has 1904 on it. I think it's called Listopia or something.
Yeah.
Which is, awesome. Both Thomas and Guy have been, big in the music, in the production world for a long time behind the scenes, and you would never know that they touched it, but that's one of the reasons that we saw them. We waited the whole show thinking it's Coachella, it's Daft Punk, it's got to happen. It didn't, but I still left pretty impressed with Phoenix's performance.
Let's throw a video from that incident in our show notes so our listeners can check that out if they want.
Will do.
But dude, can we just briefly talk about the like what if Daft Punk's here hysteria that was over every music festival in Southern California in like 2009 to 2012? It was weird, man. Like, I remember it was like a big topic of conversation at the first Coachella I went to. Like, there was constant rumors of like, you heard Daft Punk's gonna show up like Sunday night, and it's like they're not on the lineup. And it's like, dude, they're not gonna fucking show up. It was weird. Do you remember that at all?
It's actually on the Coachella subreddit, which I thoroughly enjoy because there's a lot of fun banter on there. There's a drinking game, and anytime somebody mentions Daft Punk, you drink. So
Yeah, there
anytime
you go.
anybody posts something about Daft Punk, there's always the top comment is drink, which I think is fucking hilarious. Yeah, man. I mean, it's one of those things where people who want to believe will believe, but like you and I are fans of Daft Punk, right? We know that 2006 show, which basically sparked their live 2007 touring circuit,
Mhm.
was a once in a lifetime thing. They're never going to do that again. They wouldn't, and they would never do it for 2 weekends in a row. Are you fucking kidding me? They're just never going to do the same thing again, man. Even if they were to come back, it would never be anything like the Pyramid, man. They wouldn't do it. They'd come out with a
No.
band. They'd have Nile
Well,
Rodgers
they've
to
done
do the
it.
whole
They
tour.
exactly.
You
They
know,
did it at what, the Grammys? They did Get Lucky. That would be their last performance ever, correct?
correct. That's their last. That's their last. What is
And they
it?
weren't even visible until halfway through that performance.
Yeah, I don't think they like being on camera. I don't think they like being on stage. I think that they just made some genius music and we're like, all right, I'm out. We told you who to listen to. Listen
Well,
to
that
homework.
that
You
that
know?
much is a fact. They gave you 4 albums and we're like, that you're good. Like
Peace.
take him, we're out. Like these took us our entire career to give you, and they're
Right.
perfect. But in terms of like the live aspect of it's kind of weird that I think a Phoenix show is going to be the last time they ever played like around the world and those songs live. Like that's weird
I,
that
you
that all
know,
happened at a Phoenix show.
I think that they have some relationship with one of the members of Phoenix. I'm not sure if it's a family relationship or it's something along those lines. And somebody please fact check me in the comments here. But yeah, I'm fairly certain that there was a reason for that. I think Guy or Thomas. It was one of those produced one of their albums, and I think they became really good friends and decided to just fuck
And
around.
that
And
you're
everybody at
you're
that show found out.
I think
So
you're 100. Yeah, oh, they for sure did, dude. Everyone freaked the fuck out. I think you're 100% correct, and I don't think they went into that guest performance as if like this is the last time we're gonna play these songs. It just kind of happened that their next album had nothing to do with the sound of their previous three, so it just
right.
and they didn't tour that album. They did the one song, one performance, and they were done. Now one of them blew up, and it's over.
Honestly, it's one of those things where that album, Random Access Memories, would have been extremely difficult to tour,
Yeah.
like extremely expensive.
Well, it's fun and it's kind of sad because my first thought after hearing it was like, man, that was really good. I can't wait to hear how they fuck these songs up live, like in the best way, you know? And it's just like, I'm sad that we never even got like a not like just a recorded, this is what we would have done live type of thing.
I
I
was
would have taken that.
I actually super agree with you because they did a live 1997, they did a live 2007. I was super kind of weirded out that they never did a live 2017. Like it almost just made sense. Here's our three
It
decade
made
run.
sense. Yeah.
Here it is. Let's do it. One last world tour. And regardless of how expensive it would have been, it probably would have been better for everybody to see what they could have done. I mean, I imagine that, Giorgio by Marauder would have been extremely difficult to pull off live. I mean, you'd have to tour with orchestra members, or like
Yeah.
touch,
Which
like how do
do
you
it.
do touch live?
Which do it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but it would have
Or
been,
just DJ set it, which they did, like with the pyramid. Like a lot.
yeah.
I mean, those songs were less instrumental and orchestral. You're 1,000% correct.
But that's the thing, man, is that they never wanted to do anything twice. They never did the same thing twice. They did two world tours, one of which was a DJ set, the other one was the pyramid. How do you be the next big thing? Right? LED lights are a thing now at all shows, thanks to Daft Punk. How do you one up that? I don't think that
No, you're
there's
right. They had
the
nowhere
ability
else
to
to
do
go.
that. And so
They
I don't know.
I think that their ending was perfect. Had I had like my fan fiction ending of their career, I would have done a live 2017 in the same building that they recorded a live 97.
Right.
and just had them do all random access memories, like live instrumental versions, whatever they want to do it for it. Don't tell them what to do. Like
I mean, there would
whatever
have
they'll
been,
give you.
there could have been a way to do it, right? You do one at the Hollywood Bowl, you do one at the Madison Square Garden, you do like the four corners of the United States sort of thing, and then you do one in each of the big countries in Europe, and
Which
then that's a world tour, right? I mean, you go to Melbourne, and then that's it, right? You do like 10 shows for your Live 2017, and that would have been fucking perfect because it would have been less expensive. You would have made all your money back. You would have been able to say you did it, and then that was it. But I can
they
also
could have
understand.
charged so much too. God, they could have
Oh,
charged Michael Jackson at Madison Square Garden prices.
easy,
Yep.
easy.
Dude, there was a time back then where I was very stupid with my money. People never copy me, but I was like, I'm going to have like a special savings just in case Daft Punk ever announces a live show.
Honestly, that's like not a bad. It wasn't a bad idea back before or right around Ram came out. You know.
It's a good idea. I still tell myself I'm going to save for certain things. Plot twist, I never do. All right, man. Let's move on with this conversation before we get too much more lost. We got a new one from Wednesday that you threw on here called Bull Believer. Talk to me about this.
So I like Wednesday. I found them this year. Kind of like this chill, kind of like old Yaz vibe to it. She kind of does this weird thing with her voice towards the end of this song, towards like the middle, and then like keeps continuing it. But otherwise, I really enjoy it, and I actually like a lot of their other music a lot better. What did you think about this? I threw this on for you to hear it.
So I'd never heard of this band before, but I saw a Pitchfork post about the release of this song as well. So I clicked the article and looked into it a bit. They just signed to Dead Oceans, which is a label who also has artists like Bright Eyes, Phoebe Bridgers, Khruangbin, Japanese Breakfast. So not bad company.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
This song is to celebrate their signing to that label.
Cool.
It's an 8.5 minute track that they described as an outlet for the anger and sadness that has been collected by the current and past versions of myself. Which is a heavy statement to say the least, but this song lives up to that description quite accurately. The last 3 minutes of this song are what every band should strive for, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You can hear the fucking catharsis in the vocals and the music. This is great, man. I love this.
Hey, I'm really glad you did. Here's
Good
Wednesday.
Reviewing it on a Wednesday too. How apt.
Hey.
All right, man. Next up, we got a new one from Capstan called Glimpse of Us. This is a cover of a Joji song. I didn't realize that until just like a day or two ago when I heard the original version of it on the radio. And I was like, oh, this is an actual song. But I found this band a few weeks ago. I really like their sound. This is the first track that they'd put out since then, and it was just on my release radar, so I figured I'd throw it on here.
Nice.
It was a little like jarring at first because this is not the pop punk type of stuff that I'd found them for, but
right.
I'm glad I hung in there because by the end of this one, I was like, oh, fuck yeah. We will definitely be covering more of them, but I'm curious to know your thoughts on this one.
I've actually seen Capstan.
Oh shit! Fuck yeah!
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I went to a Silverstein 15-year anniversary of their first album, When Broken Is Easily Fixed, and they actually have a live version of all of those songs. One of which was recorded at one of the shows, the show that I went to in Anaheim.
What year was this?
2017, maybe 2018.
Okay.
No, actually, it was after that. It might have been 2019.
They had an album come out in 2019. Might have been around there.
But it was an anniversary tour of their very first album. So I think it might have been in between. I don't know. But the lineup was fucking stacked. It was Capstan, it was Hawthorne Heights, and Silverstein. It was a good show, man.
Yeah, they're fucking awesome. I wish I was at that show. I have not heard that album. I'll have to go back. I heard. But definitely a fan of this and can't wait to hear some actual original new music of theirs.
Yeah, same. I like them, so we'll see. I actually have a pin. My buddy, we went to the merch table and he got me a Capstan pin, which I wear in the hat that I wore to that show.
Oh, that's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
All right. Next up, we got a new one from Willow called Curious Furious. I don't even preview Willow songs anymore before adding them. She's just hit the auto ad level of trust with me. I really enjoyed this track. I've really enjoyed all of the tracks she's put out for this rollout so far. So I'm looking forward to hearing the album in full when it drops in a couple of weeks. What did you think of this one?
As is tradition with Willow lately, I enjoyed this.
Samesies. We'll keep it brief on this because I have a feeling we're going to have a lot more to talk about when her album comes out soon.
I'm sure we will.
My man, Dead to Fall's back.
This is not a fucking drill, John.
But oddly enough, they've been back since 2020.
I see. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they dropped a song in 2020 that I was completely unaware of as well. This is, yeah, man. I can't believe they're back. I can't believe they've been back for a few years without really nobody talking about it. I guess that I know. This feels like it should be a much bigger deal.
Right?
Both of these songs fucking rip. Very happy to hear them. I'm sure you love these, but what are your thoughts on all of this taking place?
Somebody calm me down. The Phoenix Throne.
Grab the host.
Both the Phoenix Throne and Villainy and Virtue are fucking amazing albums. They are, in my opinion. If somebody were to ask me, "Hey, I'm just getting into metalcore. What do you listen to?" Dead to Fall. Both these albums. Go for it. I mean, they were on repeat when I was in high school, man. These two tracks are fucking great. I cannot wait for more. There's no album announcement yet, but I would be pretty surprised if this ended up just being two standalone singles. I really enjoyed both of them, and they still got it, man. They sound very similar to their old stuff, unlike another metalcore band that we're going to talk about later in this episode. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed this. So we'll see, man. We'll see.
We will. All right, man. Next up, we got a new one from Chelsea Grin called "The Isness."
I don't know.
Sure. Like all Chelsea Grin songs, this is just a cacophony of sound to me. It is Chelsea Grin. What did you think of this one?
I liked it. It's pretty good. Curious what the album's gonna look like. We're seeing it's more of the same, like you said. It's more of the same.
Yeah. Next up, we got a new one from Lamb of God called Grayscale. This song is pretty fucking rad. Like, I can picture standing along the outside of the pit with my arm and fist out so I don't get hit while they play this. It's one of those tracks. It's a good one.
So I've got a good friend, and we ended up going to Sacramento in 2019 to go see Aftershock Music Festival. And he's never been a big fan of metal. I've tried to get him into it. I've been like, bro, listen to like this softer stuff, and then we'll go on to like the heavier stuff. And he's like, bro, I just can't do the Cookie Monster vocals forever, right? Since like 2009, 2010. That's what he calls them. And so I'm like, all right, bro. Well, we're going to this festival. Come with us. He was like, all right, fuck it. That sounds like a good time. I don't really like metal, but we'll see. I like a couple of the bands on this lineup. And he was not impressed with that. Really, anybody at that festival besides like Slipknot. Obviously, everybody likes Slipknot. Tool was pretty cool. Rob Zombie and Marilyn Manson both put on decent shows, and Blink-182 also headlined, and he was a fan of that. Lamb of God, however, he was like, "Why didn't you show me this band?" And I was like, "Bro, I'm pretty sure I tried to." Like, this is Lamb of God is one of those bands that are consistently good while still being creative and staying within their lane, and they know what their lane is. And God, is that a good lane to be in? Randy Blythe is a fucking Randy Blythe is a fucking beast on these vocals. Just loved this. I love basically all of their music. Their last album, what is it called? Memento Mori is incredible. I remember listening to that. Was that last year or the year before when that came out and being like, "Yep, that's Lamb of God," and it's great.
Dude, I'm still cracking up about the Cookie Monster.
That's actually apparently it's pretty common, man. It's a pretty common descriptor for some of the Satan music that you and I listen to every once in a while. So,
oh man, I guess I so rarely listen to it without people who understand it around. Like, everyone I listen to it with knows quite well what metal is and are fans of it to some degree. All right, let's move on to the EPs. First up here, we got a new one from Genevieve called Rendezvous. I'm sure I don't need to tell you how much I enjoyed this, Brandon. It's perfect, man. Every song is great. Her voice is immaculate. Her melodies are infectious. In 1 year, she put out her debut album, which is a 9 or a 10 for me, by the way. She followed that up with a handful of deluxe edition tracks earlier this year, and now gives us an EP full of some of the best R&B tracks I've heard all year. She is quickly becoming one of my favorite artists, and not just in R&B. I loved this, and I feel like you might have found some stuff you enjoyed on here as well. What did you think of it?
John, I loved this.
Yes,
I love this was
yes,
great, man. The production
yes.
style is right up my alley. Her voice is fucking incredible. You said everything else perfectly. There's nothing to expand on there. I liked all of these songs.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I almost never tell you to throw R&B on your listen to next, but you should put her debut album on there. It's called Division, and it's fucking incredible, man. Every song is like this. You're just like, when is this gonna drop off to like album cut quality? Never, never. It's great. Shout out Genevieve. This is fantastic. I'm a big fan.
Already added to my listen to next. We'll see.
Thank you. All right, man. Next up, we got this EP finally from Ginger Root Nisimono. We've already reviewed all of the songs on here except for the intro and the last two, but
Yep.
hearing the EP from front to back really ties the room together. There's not a bad song on here, man. There's not a bad moment on here. It's all great. His voice, the music, the album art, the music videos. This is a work of art. What did you think of it?
Talented is a word, but is it even enough? He clearly knows how to create music that works on a number of different levels, and he structures songs so well. He uses catchy melodies. He knows when the flutes, the horns, the brass need to come in. The bass lines are all so funky and like dynamic. Everything on this EP is fucking great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you can tell he's very deep into music theory. You don't make an album this good and that sounds this effortless unless you were very deep into that stuff, I feel like.
Right, right.
Great EP from Ginger Root. We're all big fans of you on this show.
Same.
Can't wait to hear what's next. All right, you ready to move on to the albums?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, first up, we got Ari Lennox's new album, Age, Sex, Location. I'm just gonna go first on this one. She killed it, man. It's 12 songs, 40 minutes, one interlude. It's just one sultry R&B jam after another, and there's not a bad song on here. It starts off with POF. That's a very strong intro in my opinion. Hoodie and Pressure, both great singles, fit great into the album. The interlude is brief, and the back half of the album is a little bit ballad heavy, but it's beautiful relative to this album, that is. But where I think this album really shines is in the middle, man. That run of songs from Mean Mug through Outside is just incredible. Mean Mug with those beautiful harmonies and the sax at the end, which I'm sure you're going to touch on. Boy by far my favorite feature on the album. Just an incredible duet, flawless vocal performances, and the playful flirtation between them might have been too believable. Just incredible chemistry. They had a song on his Table for Two EP last year that was good, but this one feels like another step up. So I really enjoyed that. And Stop By and Outside are album cuts for sure, but they're jams to me. I really like those tracks. Overall, I love this album. I love everything she puts out. I got this one an 8 out of 10. I'm going to have Boy Bye as my standout, but that's just for today.
Nice.
What did you think of this one, buddy?
Oh man, Ari Lennox has shown that she's not only going to be staying around, but will probably be someone that everyone listens to for a few years.
I hope so.
Dreamville is having a pretty good year this year.
They are.
I'm not only impressed with this man, but I really liked all of this. You know that the ballad song, the slower ballad R&B songs aren't necessarily my thing, but she did keep me engaged, and that's a major thing for me in R&B, and she kept me super interested on the majority of the tracks. This is a great album, and this is, I mean, My R&B album of the year list is pretty stacked this year. The only song I don't like is Queen Space, but we talked about that.
Yeah,
And it's not because of Ari, it's because of Summer Walker. I even enjoyed Lucky Day's work on Boy Bye. I'm gonna go ahead and say that Outside is my favorite, although I think it's
great song.
I think it's Blocking You with the sax that is just, oh yeah, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of great music on this album to enjoy.
Definitely.
Outside's a great track, fantastic standout. Have you revisited Lucky Day's album?
I have not.
I know you revisited Omar, maybe near
I
the
did.
end of the year, before we do the R&B episode for the end of the year. Revisit it because I listened to it today and I was like, yeah, this is still the best R&B album that's come out this year.
All right,
Um,
I'll throw it on
I
my listen to
I
next.
will send you a video because I think when you hear him sing live, you're going to be like, it's all just going to come together for you. Like, you'll be able to hear how good he is live when you're listening to the recordings too. And like, this fucking guy's been around for so long. He was on American Idol like 15 years ago.
Oh shit! That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, like he's been grinding at this for a while, so I'm glad he's finally seeing some good success.
Good for
Uh,
him. Yeah, I'll give it another listen before the year is
thank
up.
you, thank you. That's all I ask. Next up, we got this new one from Parkway Drive. Wait, did you give the RE1 a score?
Oh shit! I gave it a 7.
Okay, wow, good.
Yeah,
And your standout was Outside. Love it.
outside.
All
Yes.
right, now officially. Next up, we got Parkway Drive's new album, Darker Still. Talk to me about this one, man.
All right.
Wow, that
So
was an exaltation. I'll tell you
you
that.
know, I was really trying to hold out hope that this album was going to be, I don't know, at the very least decent. Unfortunately, we got the antithesis of a masterpiece here. It's a train wreck, bro. Don't get me wrong. There's like a couple of neat moments, but there's nothing, anything. It's nothing like anything they've ever put out. It's incredibly disappointing, man. I was really hoping we were going to get a concept album that was a little bit softer, maybe a little bit more melodic than we've gotten from Parkway Drive before, while still holding their roots intact, like lyrical prowess and I mean, they're clearly great instrumentalists. Like they're great musicians, right? Like
Mhm.
nobody can listen to Ire or Horizons and think otherwise, right? But most of this album is unlistenable, man. From the lyrics that are just god awful, they're not creative and just super cringy, to the uninspired instrumentation on the majority of this album. The drummer does know that double bass is like the second kick drum is there, right? Like there's a couple of heavy moments, but most of it is just a 4/4 with very little variation and like super generic guitar work, man. I'm heavily disappointed in this. I will say though that I'm super glad I saw them in 2016 before they started on this journey of Papa Roach inspired, poorly executed excuse for metal. Never mind metalcore. I didn't hear one breakdown on this album, and I listened to it twice on purpose. I know. I'm just super fucking bummed, dude. I don't have a standout. This is a 2 at best. What did you think of this Parkway Drive album? Ugh.
I agree with everything you said. Same exact score. I only want to ask, is Soul Bleach? Is that doesn't count as like heavier? Is that thrashy? That's not really breakdowny, I guess, right?
It counts as heavier, and when I said that there were some heavier moments like that, like that's like clearly that was where they were. That's where they're comfortable, but everything else takes away from anything that could have been portrayed as good metal.
Yeah. Yeah, it just feels like in the same way the Panic album felt like very derivative of so many 80s things, but mostly Queen. It's like this has too much like Metallica in it, but
Dude,
not good Metallica. It's a
plenty
mess.
of bands play around with softness and heaviness. I mean, listen to Mastodon's discography. You get albums like Crack the Sky that are just fucking heavy and like weirdly electronic in moments, and then you turn on Blood and Thunder and it's like way less heavy, but it's this concept album that is just beautiful and forceful and still definitely Mastodon, and it's still definitely metal. It's just a little softer than something else that they put out. You know, it's like they could have maintained their identity, but they decided to. I don't know if it was maybe the producer they worked with. I don't know if it was somebody told them like, "Hey, bro, if you want to get on the festivals, you got to sound like Bring Me the Horizon now." I don't know what it was, but whoever told them to do this was super wrong. And honestly, it's probably going to make them more money. I can't deny that this is probably more palatable, like more palatable for most of the people that listen to rock music, right? But if you
Sure.
know anything about Parkway Drive and their history, like how do you mix any of these songs in with your other songs? How are they going to do that?
I mean, they're gonna do it, and people are gonna be like when Linkin Park used to bring out whatever Chester's other band was for like 15 minutes,
I
and
mean, I
everyone's like,
guess.
"The fuck is this?"
Well, let's go get a beer,
Um,
man. This is crazy. You know,
exactly,
like
man. I mean, I think to what you were saying, you and I are big fans of Horizons and Killing with a Smile, and we expected their sound to change over the course of 15 years. But there's times on this album where it just most of the time it just does not sound like you're listening to Parkway Drive, and that's the feeling we want back, is the feeling of listening to Parkway Drive.
like there are plenty of bands that have fully clean vocals and like super heavy instrumentals that I'm like super into. If your voice is failing, bro, that's totally cool, bro. Change your vocal style. Don't throat sing. Like what are you doing, man? Like it kind of baffles me that we got this, and I was super hopeful for the singles, and people who are just listening to this podcast for the first time can go back and listen to my thoughts on the singles. And I'm like, you know what, it might be good. I kind
You
of
were
like this the way it
optimistic.
is. It can be really good. You know, this is a good song for like what it is. I was just lying to myself, man. You know,
Yeah, I tried to tell you, man. I hated all of them. I was like, these are bad. I saw the
you
writing on the
did.
wall. But
I really didn't want to, man. I'm just sad. At
I
least I got
think
to see Boneyards live because I don't think they're ever gonna
yes,
play that fucking song again.
incredible song. I think what you said is right though. This is probably going to make them bigger. It's might be more accessible to people. But if you're going into this album looking for a glimpse of the old Parkway Drive, you will not leave satisfied.
Right.
All right, we'll leave that there. Very confusing album. Um, Next up, we got a new one from Totally Enormous Extinct Dinosaurs called When the Lights Go. So, this album was not exactly what I was hoping it would be. I've always enjoyed his vocal contributions to songs, and I enjoyed his production on the singles that we covered, but this album taught me that I like his sound much more in smaller doses than large. He's got a really good voice and knows how to use it well within the genre. He's a good producer and can make moments that have similar euphoric highs to Porter and Madeon. But this album suffers from being a little too long and a little too repetitive tonally. I wouldn't say it's bad. I enjoyed my time with it, but it's an acquired taste for sure. I got this one at like a 6 out of 10, and The Sleeper is my standout. What did you think of it, my buddy?
John, do you like Caribou?
Uh, I think since I hesitated, I'm gonna say like casually, maybe. Not a giant Caribou fan.
So I'm a giant Caribou fan. On hit like when he releases an album, that's like my fucking jam. And I thought I was listening to like it felt like I was listening to a Caribou album here. And if that's not your thing, that's totally cool.
I think that that's it. Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
t-
think
I'm just super glad that you appreciated the instrumentals here and appreciated the musicianship here because there is a lot of that on this record.
oh yeah, he's a great producer for sure, and a really good singer. Like I said, it's just a little too much of it all for me.
I think that he could have been at times. I mean, there's like a couple of strings on this album, but it was like begging for a viola somewhere. Um,
I agree. Every album
like,
is.
well, I mean, yeah, but not everybody can be Kolsch. But look, man, I thought that this was a great record because I don't think that it's EDM. I think that it's electronic music for certain, but I don't think that it's dance music. And it can be at times, right? Like The Sleepers, great track, right? My standout is Never Seen You Dance, which is also one of the dancier tracks on here.
Yeah.
I have it at a 7 or an 8. I don't have many critiques of it because I think that there's great kind of pitchy variations. There's some gorgeous piano work on this album, and there's some really great synth work also. I really did enjoy my time with it.
Was it enough to get you to hit the follow button?
I did hit that follow button.
Hey, so that's a small victory. Are you
Yes,
going to be
sir.
revisiting this one down the road, you think?
Maybe we're gonna see what else is coming out. I mean, we've had some great electronic music this year, and I'm not sure how this is gonna stack up, but we'll see.
Yeah, I might check it out near the end of the year, but I think it's a good album. I think he did a good job on it.
Yeah, me too.
All right, man. Let's move on to this new Armor for Sleep album called The Rain Museum. We've been dying to talk about this one since it was
Mother
announced.
of God.
Dude, this album is fucking great. It is part pandemic project, part personal therapy, all wrapped up within a concept album. It's ambitious, but they never let the concept dictate the sound. And if you didn't know the story behind this album, you could enjoy it just as much as you could enjoy any of their previous albums, which
Right.
is a credit to how great they are as artists, you know?
Right.
Like their sound has not fucking aged a day. This album is everything you could want from a new Armor for Sleep album. The songwriting is fantastic. It's honest and concise. The music isn't just the perfect backdrop for the story we're hearing, but it's also great at elevating whatever emotion they're trying to convey at the moment. Every tone feels so intentional, which I'm sure it was on a project as personal as this one. Um, Anyways, here's some things I loved about the album. The instrumental intro. These types of intros used to be really common for bands to play live, but were rarely included on albums back then. I don't
Right.
know if you remember that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, and I love that they opened up the album this way. It brought me back. The singles were both fantastic choices. How Far Apart and Whatever Who Cares both feel like instant addition to their Essentials catalog. We get some detours from their usual sound on here too, with the more like melancholy New Rainbows and the kind of icy rather drown. But the album cuts on this one are what take it from a great album to one of the best rock albums I've heard this year. I keep coming back to See You on the Other Side, World Burned Down, In This Nightmare Together, and Teardrop just as much as the singles. And I have to mention the outro. Spinning Through Time is like the weird, hypnotic, proggy, high concept bow on the gift that is this album, man. I gave this one a 9 out of 10. Whatever, who cares, is my standout.
Hey.
What are your thoughts on it, man?
Oh man, I'm gonna agree with you on a couple of things before I start my
Please.
review. How Far Apart and Whatever Who Cares are perfect singles for this album because it totally encapsulates two different sides of this album while still staying cohesive to this concept, like you said.
I agree.
How fitting that the day this was released, it was raining in the desert.
It was raining here too.
Well, it rains all the time there. That
That's
doesn't count.
true.
But it feels really good to say that there's a new Armor for Sleep record that was released. I just kind of like I put this on and the Rain Museum intro opened and I just kind of reveled in it for a second, man. I threw it on. I remember I got in my car, going to get a coffee or something on Friday, and the Rain Museum came on and I just kind of like sat there for a sec as one does with an Armor for Sleep record, and I just kind of reveled in the fact I was like, this is new Armor for Sleep. It just, oh man. All
It
right,
hit
so
you. Yeah.
the intro is fucking perfect.
Yep.
Really set the stage for this record. It's safe to say they've still got it. Ben's vocals are fucking crisp and they haven't
Yeah.
aged a day. The other band members have clearly matured with their instruments and abilities, but they're not reinventing any wheels here, which is awesome and exactly what we needed. I feel very strongly that this could have been released in the early 2000s and it would have been a fucking hit. It's a hit today, at least in my heart. This is performed, produced very well. It's emotional as fuck while having this air of apathy that this band just does so well. New Rainbows I think that Armor for Sleep does slow songs not as well as they do some of their other productions, but New Rainbows have just been stuck in my head for a long time. And
Same.
and that 3 song run, like you said, from See You on the Other Side, World Burns Down, In This Nightmare Together, is I kept going back specifically to that 3 song run because it's perfect. It's a perfect run, bro. Yeah, I also gave this a 9. My standout is World Burned Down.
Dude, fuck yeah. That honestly, that 3 song run, it makes me feel like I'm in my high school bedroom on like a weekday night.
Right?
Like
Like,
it's weird. Like this album is so weird in the way that it triggered so many weird memories and nostalgia just through the tones and hearing his voice again and the way he sings these things. And just yeah, like when I visit it from a more lyrical perspective and you're listening to like that, it's also kind of a heartbreaking album, you know?
right.
But it's beautiful, man. They did a great job on this. I love it.
Yeah, super same.
All right. You ready to talk about the Afghan Whigs?
You know that I am.
All right, man. They released their new album, How Do You Burn? And I've been excited to hear your thoughts on it all week. So please hit me.
All right, so there were very few albums that I was more excited for this year. My discovery of the Afghan Whigs in like 2015 or 2016 was one that I'll never forget. I'm pretty sure I listened to their album Gentleman and Do the Beast like every day for a few months. Their music just speaks to me, and I've come to love their entire discography. This is, in my opinion, the very definition of alternative rock. Rock music that combines elements of many genres while not staying really within any boundaries besides rock. The strings, the bass lines, the riffs, the solos, the vocal delivery, the really well written lyrics, the passion all line up on each and every single track of this record. We get some riff heavy tracks like I'll Make You See God
Yes.
and like a line of shots, right? And we also get some softer tracks like Please Baby Please and Catch a Colt. We get some tracks that kind of combine both of them, and all of them are they're all executed fucking beautifully. I don't think this record has a skip except for some of the variations in tempo and style that sometimes are not something you want to hear like in that order. This isn't to say that the album structure isn't great, right? Because it is. And if you're a Whigs fan, then you'll definitely want to hear them all in this particular order. But sometimes you just want a heavy riffing and kind of not soft R&B blends. Couple of things I fucking love about this record are those twangy, kind of understated but not undersold riffs on Please Baby Please. The strings throughout the record. They're all placed ever so perfectly throughout it. And the passion in Dooley's voice. The guest vocals, even though we really aren't able to hear Lanigan shine on any of the two spots that he's on, and the way that each song is constructed to kind of create an atmosphere. I'm a huge fan of this, as you already knew I would be. I would be listening constantly, as is tradition with any Wigs album, and I gave this a 9. My standout, though, is A Line of Shots. I really liked that song. It really just stood out to me that is the Afghan Wigs to me. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this, man. It's a great rock record. It's one of the best that we've gotten this year, and we've gotten a lot of good fucking rock records this year. What did you think about your first Afghan Wigs release, sir?
I thought it was great, man. It's as grand as it is like thought provoking and heartfelt. It really covers the full span of the emotional spectrum, and they handle all of the topics and tones on this album with a lot of expertise, I think. It's the rare album that can have you rocking out to it when you're listening to a track like I'll Make You See God, or kind of sobbing to yourself listening to a track like Domino and Jimmy. It's easy to get distracted by the impressive vocal and music performances on this album, though. This one took me a few listens to really be able to hear it all together because there's just a lot to appreciate on here. So I'll throw all of my in-depth analysis out the window and just talk about a few of the things on this album that I enjoyed the most. As I previously mentioned, the opening track, I'll Make You See God, a riffy blues rock track that's hard not to love. The Getaway is awesome. Sounds like a cross between The Academy is and Oasis, a very rare combination.
Whoa, man!
Um,
Only the Wigs.
yeah, only the Wigs. Everything about Jaya is great. Please Baby Please dives into the more alternative side of their sound, but I really liked that. Domino and Jimmy feels like the real heart of the album to me. It sounds like it conveys not only the theme of the album, but what the band has dealt with as well. It's really beautiful. And In Flames is the perfect closer for an album like this, man. This whole
Yes, it
album
is.
is beautiful and it's well done. I gave it an 8 out of 10. And I guess my standout on the harder side, I'll Make You See God, and on the lighter side, Domino and Jimmy.
Nice.
Who's the guest vocalist on Domino and Jimmy? Do you know?
It is. I actually had seen this.
It's a girl, right?
No, I think it
Oh,
is
is it a guy? Or I
Christopher
don't know.
Thorne. I could be wrong. It could be a girl. I'll double
I have
check
no
on it.
idea. But yeah, great song. Love the vocal performances on that one.
Yeah, man. Same.
Yes, thank you for showing me them, man. That was a lot of fun to break down. I'm sure
I'm
we will
so
be
glad you
talking to
heard him.
them. Yeah, we're going to be talking about them at the end of this year, I'm sure.
Yes, I'm fairly certain.
All right, man. Let's cap off this week with this new Revocation album, Nether Heaven. We reviewed a few singles of theirs. I know we did Recrucified. I can't remember if we did any of the others, but what are your thoughts on this album, man?
All right, man. I'm pretty sure my metal thirst has been quenched. We've had
Are
a
you
lot of
sure?
good metal this year. I'm not gonna not throw metal onto this playlist because I actually there's another album that came out this week that I didn't.
Of course.
But this record is a great follow up to their record, The Outer Ones, in 2018, which I just so happened to happen upon a few months ago and discovered Revocation, and I immediately listened to it a ton when I discovered it. This is This is fucking great, man. Classic death metal lyrics with their own take on the vocal delivery. We've got some proggy death metal instrumentals with a huge influence taken from a lot of the greats. I hear a lot of At the Gates in this record. I hear a lot of Death. I hear a lot of Cannibal Corpse. I even hear Dying Fetus in some of the more brutal areas. It's not derivative though, which I think is an important thing. It's all done tastefully and they do it kind of in their own way. The tremolo picking between some of the riffs, the drumming throughout the album is fucking incredible. Everything about this album is something that I like. And at this point, I just need to tell you that the Ninth Chasm is very special. I'm sure you caught it also, where it's just a lyricless fucking death metal instrumental that leads into this fucking beautiful godforsaken song. It kind of just takes its time to get there, and then when it does, oh my fucking god, man! The grooves, the technicality to it, while maintaining the kind of not so math core tech death, is just something of beauty, man. The dual guitars in the main riff, the kind of split up to the scale up into a solo. God, man, it's just fucking great, man. I give it an 8. My standout is both the Ninth Chasm and Godforsaken because they probably should have just made that one song.
Oh man, I love that review. I knew I wasn't going to be able to articulate what makes this album good quite as well as you could, so that's why I wanted you to go first. But I'll be pretty brief. I thought it was very good as well. They found just the right balance of heavy and melodic to keep me engaged from beginning to
I
end.
knew you were gonna like it.
The album, yeah, dude, it's fucking everything about the structure of it helps too. Like it's bookended by Diabolical Majesty and Recrucified, which are already we reviewed those back as singles.
Yep.
But the middle of this album has some gems on it, man. Strange and Eternal was a big standout for me, as well as Galleries of Morbid Artistry, like you said, into Ninth Chasm, into Godforsaken. Like that 4-song run is great. Overall, man, I thought this album was really good, and if our reactions are any indication, it should satisfy the hardcore metal community as much as the casual one, which seems to be a hard feat to accomplish. I gave this one a 7 out of 10. I think I'm going to go Strange and Eternal as my standout.
Nice. That's a great song too.
Yeah, I love that one.
I'm glad you liked it, man. I'm glad it. I knew it wasn't going to be too heavy for you, and I knew it was going to be just the sweet spot of melodic for you to stay engaged. So I'm glad that was kind of perfect.
Yeah, I did the classic eye roll when I was like, oh god, here we go, and then I hit because I never know when I hit play if it's going to be like a 4-minute squeal over a blast beat with you, or if it's going to be like some good death metal like this. And this was good death metal. I liked it.
I definitely agree.
You want to know what we're breaking down next week for your big birthday extravaganza?
Let's go.
All right, we got the Beths, Expert in a Dying Field, Death Cab for Cutie, Asphalt Meadows, The Devil Wears Prada, Color Decay, Klangstoff, Godspeed to the Freaks, the Mars Volta self-titled, and Muramass's Demon Time. It's a fucking stacked week, man. I can't wait for
Jesus
that.
Christ, man. That is happy fucking birthday to me.
Yes, I will be having some beers during the next episode. I suggest all of our listeners do so as well. It'll be a fun time. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.